Well, welcome, friends. Hey, Eddie. Good to see you, Eddie. Happy Saturday, my friend. Yeah, a little bit of a surprise live stream here, and even more of a surprise that it's a contemporary machine that I am giving high marks to. Very high marks. And you know what? I believe this is the first. I got to turn this Japanese Imperial Forces music down. It's getting all pumped up. So I think this is the very first JUKI that I've ever done on this channel. And this channel was established, I think, in 2005. So we've been going strong for about 17 years now on YouTube. And if you go through the catalog of videos, you'll see all kinds of machines that I've had either in the workshop at my old location or the workshop here in Oconto. I don't think I've ever had a JUKI before. Never, ever have had a JUKI. And I'll be honest with you, I was a little bit cautious. I won't say skeptical. I was a little bit cautious when this customer brought this machine in, just because, you know, it's a contemporary machine. Need I say more? And also, you know, I was curious because it has kind of that rugged look to it, doesn't it? As you're looking at this machine, let me move the camera over a little bit and give you kind of a front shot. It's got a rugged look to it. And I thought, okay, I'm wondering what portion of this machine is metal. And there's a lot of plastic, although there's also metal lined on the inside of some of the plastic parts to give it more stability and more strength. But it's a sexy looking machine, in my opinion. It's a good looking machine. And even in the absence of an all metal body, I didn't get them up on Facebook yet because I've been playing catch up on some things with our contest and everything ending just recently. But I'll tell you this, I'm going to be getting a lot of pictures up of my servicing of this contemporary machine so that other folks that have contemporary machines and are thinking about, well, do I take them to a local service center and they do like the quick once-over, or do I want to have my JUKI serviced like that one I saw on that Cow Country channel? So for a little bit, self-serving reasons, I want to get all those pictures up. I didn't do it yet, but I'm going to get them up on Facebook. And I know a lot of the folks that pop onto the Cow Country page, they own a more contemporary quilting type machine like this. This is a straight stitch only machine, and it's really designed with the harp space, which is quite large, to handle a wide array of sewing needs. But in particular, it's a quilting machine. And it even comes, you can see this little plug-in point right here. It even comes with a knee controller. The customer didn't bring that, and they didn't bring the extension bed either. There's also a large extension bed that can go on this machine as well to give you a workspace that is comparable to a Swedish Beauty, a green machine, or to a FOF with that extension bed and that little extension piece that I've shown you guys before. So, but machine, it really kind of caught me off guard. because I've never had this particular maker in the workshop before. And for those of you that don't know, JUKI came on the scene very late. They came on the scene very late. I'm actually going to open my phone here. Let me set this down. They came on the phone really late in the 1940s. So you've got other manufacturers like Singer, ones that were on the scene long, long before JUKI ever popped up as a Japanese-based company. And that was part of the reason I open up with that Imperial Forces music, which has a Japanese flavor, because those are the roots of this company that was established right around, well, I should say established in making sewing machines right around 1945. And then they had about a 2-year waiting period before they actually started manufacturing sewing machines for home use right around 1947. So a little bit awkward timing if you think about it, with the end of World War II and our general feelings as a society about the Japanese people after that horrific event came to an end with the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, right in about the same time period that this company was kind of popping out and saying, hey, we're making machines now. And they're obviously known for making light industrial and industrial machines as well. Really, that's their bread and butter. And this is kind of a supplemental of what they're doing now. Now, those of you that are in this live stream, I talked about the roots of JUKI being Japanese. Where was this machine made? And let me give you a couple of clues to help you out. I can tell you that this owner brought the machine in for a general service, but also because in the process of sewing, the upper tension, if you can imagine, literally shot out of the machine and fell into pieces right in front of the owner. Talk about a wake-up call that I think I might need help here. And I found that there were 2 parts that had broken on the inside of this assembly, and I was able to repair it and get the machine back to working just tip top. But that was kind of a shocker to this customer. And when I brought it in and I started to examine it, I didn't know either where this machine was made. And so I looked at the nomenclature plate on the back of the machine and I go, oh, okay. So where do you guys think this machine was made? Oh, and I need to say some hellos. I already said hello to Eddie. I have not said hello yet to my dear friend Paula. And Paula and I and Emma and other folks on my inner circle, we chat, we exchange stuff all the time. So Paula and I were already chatting this morning about different things, as I was with Emma. So I've already kind of said good morning to those ladies. And I don't see anybody else in the live chat right now. So I've greeted everybody that I can see. And it looks like Eddie took a swing at it. And Eddie said, China, question mark. Well, Eddie, you can remove the question mark because you are absolutely spot on. JUKI, like a number of manufacturers, have moved their operations to China now, and certainly to other regions in the world where the labor force is a lot cheaper to hire, and they can have QA standards in place and hope that they can maintain those standards as the machines are being made and being sent out across the world. So this machine was made in China. Now I'm going to throw another question out there that's a little bit tougher, maybe a little bit tougher. This is obviously set up to look like a light industrial machine. Again, as you look at it, it's got kind of a toughness about it, doesn't it? It kind of looks industrial. What size motor would you suspect is on a machine like this? Again, it's a straight stitch only machine. It's popular among quilters. It's popular among other sewing hobbyists that use it for a variety of different things. And obviously it's got the cool setup on top, so you can be running multiple threads. You can just, I haven't even tried taking this thing to the max. I probably could almost take it to the ceiling as far as elevating it if you've got larger spools. I've got just a standard Coates and Clark spool on the machine right now, so nothing super outrageous. But what would you guess as far as the motor size? Eddie's saying 1 amp. Emma is saying point. What did she say? 0.9 amps. Eddie is closer in the correct answer, and you've got to bump it up about a tenth of an amp. A tenth of an amp, and Eddie's answer is spot on. Emma came very close. Well done to both of you, because that's a tough thing to ask, isn't it? It's a tough thing to ask. And I can tell you, having torn this machine apart, as you'll see on Facebook later today, I'll finally get the pictures up. I'm kind of doing it backwards. I usually get the pictures up on Facebook first, and then I do a premiere like this or a live stream about that machine. And sometimes I'll even show you guys the pictures of that machine being serviced and being optimized and all that good stuff. But I'm kind of doing it backwards. Again, I'm kind of on a rhythm right now. The judges and the judges, and that would be Paula, Emma, I'm just totally braining here, Bill, Veronica. We have just been so excited and so inundated with immersing ourselves in those incredible essays that were written. I can't even talk. Those, I better set down the camera. Maybe I can talk better. So the judges and myself, again, Emma and Paula and Bill and Veronica and our distant judge who kind of stepped back because of health reasons, Sonny, we've just been immersed in those incredible essays that were submitted for our contest. Again, the contest ended up wrapping up on the 31st with 7 entries. And 3 of those 7 entries came in really in the last hours of the contest almost. Folks just jumped in. They just jumped in and got those entries in. So that was really awesome to do that. So yeah, the motor size on this machine, which has the look of being a light industrial machine, although it's really a household sewing machine like most of the machines you'll see on this channel, it has a 1.1 amp motor. And as I tore this machine down and really went into it for deep cleaning, because the owner bought it brand new 2 years ago, and it's never been serviced. She's done basic oiling on it. And when you look in the owner's manual, this owner's manual, and I'll show it to you, this owner's manual is really impressive as far as the tips and tricks and the content that they give you to try to set you up for success with this JUKI quilting machine. I'll just call it a quilting machine because that's why most people get it. And you don't see it on the owner's manual. I'm kind of surprised. You know, this is really, we used to call this promotional material. The manuals are instructional, but they're also promotional because inevitably, if you invest a lot of money in a machine like this, one of the things that a lot of owners will pull out to show their inner circle of friends that are fellow sewists, they'll show them the instruction manual and they'll talk about all the doodads and all the fancy stuff that this machine can do. And I'm kind of surprised that they didn't put on the front of this Platinum Edition, because Platinum Edition is right on the front of the machine right there. Once the camera focuses, it's there. Should be there. Right there. Turn my little light on. That might help. Nope, that doesn't help. Shut it off. There we go. Hey, it focused in. And I shouldn't be too critical of the camera because it's probably trying to focus behind the machine. But you can see how they proudly put on the front of this JUKI machine, Platinum Edition. They didn't do that on the owner's manual. But I'll tell you, initially the customer said, do you want me to leave the owner's manual? And I thought, 22 years of experience, do I need an instruction manual to take care of a contemporary machine? Boy, am I glad that I humbled myself and I said to Heather, yeah, go ahead and leave it. That would be great. I'd love to read and see, about some of the cool features and some of the doodads on this Platinum Edition JUKI TL 2020 PE. So they made it kind of easy to know really when this machine is made. It's in the name, it's in the model of the machine. JUKI in 2020 wanted to come out with, almost like Singer last year in 2021, they wanted to come out with a limited edition machine. They only made a certain number of these, and there were waiting lists for people to try to get their mitts on one until they finally shut down the production of them and said, that's all we're making. So Heather was incredibly excited to get her mitts on this one, and then to only be into it for about 2 years. And by the way, I don't think I'm sharing any deep, dark secret of Heather's here, but because of the cost of a machine like this, just like back in the day when people were buying Singer sewing machines, and they were buying Brothers sewing machines and White and Domestic, and the list goes on, many of those manufacturers realizing that most people don't build into their budget the cost of buying a sewing machine. And a sewing machine back in the day was a couple $100, which was the equivalent of a couple $1,000 now. So with that in mind, and recognizing that Heather, so that she didn't strain her budget, which makes sense, doesn't it? We just came out of a pandemic and everything else. And Heather would have bought this machine right in the middle of the pandemic, And a lot of people were losing their jobs then, and all kinds of chaos was going on. And so she wanted to play it safe and say, I don't want to put all that money out front. I want to pay this on a budget plan and pay it off in about 2 to 3 years. And so she's still making some modest payments on it as we speak. And then to be sewing on this machine and have the upper tension assembly literally, boom, kind of pop out of the machine, and it's in pieces all over the floor. And she's like, I didn't even pay this machine off yet, and it's falling apart. Well, I can tell you that some of the parts on the inside of the upper tension, just like other manufacturers, they now have gone from making them in metal to making them in plastic. And that's what broke on it. The metal parts were good to go. But at any rate, what do you think? I'm blabbering on. What do you think? And try to answer it without Googling it. You know what? If you Google it, you Google it. But what do you think, Heather, in the middle of the pandemic in 2020, what did she pay for this machine? What do you think? Just type into the chat a guess as to what anyone else, Heather or anyone else for that matter, buying a limited edition. They only made so many of these JUKIs, Platinum Edition, TL 2020 PE. They only made a limited edition of these. What would you pay for a machine like this in the middle of a pandemic? What do you think? Go ahead and spitball it. Just spitball it. Somebody brave, step out there and just shoot a number out. So Emma's guessing $1,500. Well, Paula, this machine has a lot of cool functions. And one of them I discovered by mistake. I'll tell you that. Okay, and we have another guest coming in. This is from Susan. Susan is saying around $775. So Paula, it's got needle up. I'll kind of show you over here. It's got an auto cutter. It's got a speed regulator. It's got the needle up function, which you can also use when you're first setting the machine up to sew, and you've threaded the top, and then you've got the bobbin case with the thread kind of hanging out. All you do is hit this needle up button, and it'll sweep down and grab the thread, hit it again, it'll bring it back up. So that's kind of cool. Feed dog drop right here, conveniently on the front of the machine. It's also got a real nice lighting system with LED. And also down in the foot controller, I'll kind of show you on the ground here, it's got one of these oversized bus pedal style foot controllers. And when you push on the blue part, it's going to launch into sewing immediately. But if you use your heel on this part over here, then what it's going to do is it's going to be an auto cutter, so that when you sew a stitch line and you want to either cut the thread or pull it out and snip it or whatever, instead of doing that, you can just press your heel back on here and it cuts the thread for you automatically. That is one of the features on this machine that I discovered by mistake. I I take this machine through my entire service, as you'll see on Facebook later today, through all of the photos, and I thread it up, and I'm old fashioned, so I rotate the balance wheel to pull the thread up, and then all of a sudden I read in the manual that I can use the needle up function to pull it up instead. So then I tried that the second time. But as I'm launching into the sew off and I'm putting this machine to the test for the first time, it keeps cutting the thread. And I'm thinking, what is wrong with this thing? Why does it think that every time I do a stitch row that it needs to cut the thread? I don't want it to cut the thread. So then I go to the trusty manual, and all of you ladies already know this to be true, and most honest men know as well, that guys are reluctant to read the manuals. And so I kind of had this off to the side, and I go into the manual, and that's where it tells me, hey, dum-dum, you're always a student because you didn't know that rock feature on the foot controller allows you to cut the thread by just pushing your heel down. You can basically, on this machine, you can cut the thread using the foot controller. You can cut it by hitting the button over here. And you can also, if you want to be old school, right over here, it's got a manual cutter right here on the front of the faceplate. You can bring the thread back and cut it right there as well. Plus, it's got a very robust motor, 1.1 amps, which is comparable to the old vintage FOF machines are usually going to be about 1.1 to 1.3 amps. And I can tell you, having examined that motor, that is a meaty motor on this machine as well. Very meaty. Okay, so I've described the machine a little bit more, and I've described my misgivings and my mishaps with it, not knowing some of the features that it had. So some of the guesses on cost: Emma said $1,500, Susan said $775, and Paula said around $500. Emma gets the prize, and I'll even do one of these.
That was easy.
Heather did pay, and most everybody that bought the machine back in the middle of the pandemic paid about $1,500 for this machine, $1,500. And then if you, that's if you just pay outright and just buy it, take it home that day. But if you go with financing, you end up paying about $500 more. And that's true whenever you go to finance anything. There's always those financing charges, which is why a lot of us try to save our pennies, nickels, and dimes, and then we make the purchase. But when you've got a limited edition like this, and everybody's lining up for it, because guess what? It's a JUKI, right? JUKI is world renowned for quality. They make great machines. And going through this machine, all of the metal, even though the outer case pretty much is plastic, the innards of this machine are really built to the JUKI standards. It's a rock solid, hardcore machine, with maybe the exception of the upper tension that prompted me to meet Heather by her coming in with holding the pieces of it like this and saying, "Can you fix this? I'm still paying on this machine." And so she didn't scream. I think I screamed like, "Oh, wow." So yeah, it's a $1,500 machine. And, in the end, with any customer in the middle of a pandemic wanting to play it safe and finance it, you're going to pay about $2,000 for a machine like this, about $2,000. So, and I'll tell you, you know what? That's a lot of money, but it's a very well-made machine, and it's got a lot of great features on it. And it sews really well too, by the way, after I got done with it. So let me tell you a little bit about the setup on this machine. Oh, Linda. Hey, welcome. Welcome to Linda. I don't know that I've seen Linda's name before. So if my leadership team, I know Paula and Emma are here. I didn't see if Bill or any of the other folks are around, but Linda, so great to have you. And if I'm just brain cramping or something, and you've been in our live streams before, then welcome again. But I think you're new, so it's so great to have you here. Yep, Emma and Paula are already on it. They're like, "Hey, great to have you here." And you know what? It's genuine. The Cow Country family looks out for each other. If you scroll up through the chat, you'll see that Paula was again showing thoughtfulness and kindness to Emma because Emma just literally got out of the hospital. And we did a live stream yesterday. Was it yesterday, you guys? I lose track of time. But in the middle of doing a live stream, because I've communicated with Emma just as I do with Paula and my other inner circle people, I knew that Emma was still in the hospital. In one arm, she had an IV. On the other arm, she had something else hooked up. And she's joining the live stream and jumping into it just like nothing's different. So it's so great to have new folks. I think I missed someone else too. Creative Creative Grammy, Creative Grammy from Hawaii. Creative Grammy from Hawaii. You know, it's so interesting. I did a post this morning, and my buddy Dan, who lives in Hawaii, popped up. He's really busy. He works in the hotel industry, and he's always busy, always racing around doing things. And a couple years back, I prepared a 201-2 for Dan and shipped it all the way to Hawaii. And I want to say that he lives in a city called Lahaina. Lahaina, am I saying that right? Our friend that's from Hawaii, tell me if I'm getting that right. Dan is from Lahaina, and he sent pictures of where he lives. Oh my gosh. And he said, Scott, and I hope I'm not putting Dan in any awkward situation, but he said, hey, Scott, guess what? I work in the hotel industry. And if you ever decide to visit me in Hawaii, I will get you a deal that will make you drool on a hotel room right in the middle of this tourist area. You'll be paying a rate that other people would kill for because I'm the inside guy. And I said, whoa, I'm going to be nice to this guy if he can save me a lot of money. Because can you imagine? I've never been to Hawaii, but can you imagine what you pay for a hotel room in Hawaii, especially near the touristy areas? Oh, wow. You know, like they say, it doesn't matter what you know, it's who you know, right? It's who you know. So, oh, Piper. Well, welcome, Piper. Yeah, I lose track of names. I lose track of names. So, but it's always great to have folks come back, and if you're away for a while and I don't see folks, I sometimes, cuz when I'm doing a live stream like this, when I'm doing a live stream, I have to rely on Paula and Emma and Bill and Sonny and the other leaders to kind of take care of the family. They take care of the family because I'm over here doing my thing. I'm showing things. Sometimes I'm doing the sew offs on the live stream, and then I'll go back to revisit. I'll go back to revisit, the live chat. But I miss a lot. So thank goodness for Paula and Emma and Bill and if Veronica, I should have done it the other day. Dag nabbit, missed opportunity, a missed opportunity. I didn't talk to the leaders about it, but I know that they would go absolutely. But because Sonny has had to at least temporarily take a step back, the next time Veronica, the one that's helping to judge our contest with the other leaders, the next time Veronica is here, I'm going to make her a moderator as well so that she can kind of be that surrogate for Sonny and then just keep her on as a moderator so that if Sonny has, bad days or whatever, and Veronica joins, she can help manage things as well and make people feel welcome. And as Paula says, and I had never heard this used before, but when I brought Paula on as a moderator, she jokingly sent me a text and she said, I'll be watching out for trolls. And if there's any naughty trolls, I'll bring the hammer down. I'll bring the hammer down on them. as a moderator. So, and the moderators, they are very kind fellow sewists and historians and collectors and everything else. But we do want this to be a family friendly environment, where if a grandma or a grandpa is sitting with their kids because they're followers of this channel, we never want something to pop up on the screen that's going to be, is going to be bad for kids or grandkids or anything like that. And we don't build this format specifically for kids, but we want it to be family friendly. So between Emma and Paula and eventually Veronica, Sonny, Bill, while I'm busy over here, if somebody, decides to step over the line and do something that is objectionable, they can manage things. They can throw them into a timeout. They can do a variety of other things to help maintain that family friendly environment. I hope that makes sense. So let's see. Paula, aloha to you too. Piper from, oh yeah, Piper from Alberta, Canada. See, I knew that. I knew Piper was from Canada. Very cool. Well, first of all, I hope you're a friend and then a fan. So, but that's cool. Totally cool. All right. So, what else? I totally lost track of what we were doing. So I told you the investment that Heather made in this machine, and I told you the basic features of it. Let me talk about the setup a little bit on this machine, how it's set up right now, at least. So the setup on this machine is I've got a needle in the machine that I've never used before. I've never used this needle before. Let me show you what it is. These were at a local retailer. I had never seen, and some of you that are very, very, you get out there, you're smart, you're engaged, you're doing different things. You guys are probably going to say, Scott, that's been out for a while. That's not new. But to me, it was new. I saw it at this retailer, and let me show you what it is. I had never heard of this brand before, and it was on the shelf next to my beloved Schmetz needles. Matter of fact, they were almost like side by side, kind of like this. They were side by side on the same shelf space. And I grabbed a couple packs of my 9014 Schmetz needles, and I thought, I got to give this a try. I got to give this brand a try and see what I think. Has anyone else tried these before? I had to make a new account with my new name. Oh, okay. Well, that's why I'm not totally on Minute Maid. Linda Piper, aka Piper, made a new account. That's why I didn't recognize it. See, it's not old age, you guys. I'm still okay. I'm okay. So has anyone else tried these needles before or seen them in major retailers? This brand? Or is this new to you too? Come on, somebody jump out there so I know that you guys aren't dozing off. All right, come on, you guys. So Eddie said, nope, haven't seen them. I haven't seen these. So I'm not alone then. These are probably a new brand that is being offered through a lot of the retailers. Their packaging is kind of cool. I like their packaging, and they're promoting it as a universal type machine. Oh, Ross says you're using the Schmetz Chrome. We did, didn't we do? We did a couple of testing things with the Chrome, and they are popular among quilters. And obviously, Roz is a master quilter, but we'll see how these do today because I've never really tried them before. I did some basic sew offs with this machine before the premiere. I ran down some protected full grain leather, and this is the largest stitch that this machine does. It's it's set on 6, and I think it said, let's see, there's the lock stitch on the back. I think it said it makes a 6 millimeter stitch. So I don't know if these are 6 millimeter, but it does make a very big straight stitch, doesn't it? It's quite large. And if you see a little bit of a tipping of the stitch alignment, I had a little bit of a trouble, a little bit of a trouble. I'm having a little bit of trouble speaking today. I had a little bit of trouble balancing the tension because this has an open case bobbin with a little spring insert on the inside of the bobbin case that's supposed to allow that bobbin to be more stable, and it kind of allows it to spin a little bit more evenly inside of the case. So a lot more adjusting. We may even have to do a little bit of adjusting during this live stream today. But all in all, a good looking stitch, especially when you're talking about a stitch of this size through protected full grain leather. So yeah, really quite good. Is Roz? I didn't see Roz. I think Emma, I think Paula mentioned Roz as far as Roz turning her on to the Schmetz. What are they? Paula said it. The Schmetz chrome needles. But I don't think Roz is in the live stream, is she? I didn't see Roz. Maybe I missed her. So at any rate, I tested with that, and then I was testing it as well on some 100% cotton with a little bit of stiffener on the inside, making adjustments to it and trying to get it spot on. Now, while I was doing these initial sew-offs on this 100% cotton with this stiffener, that was in the process of discovering that the foot controller, and if you're joining the live stream late, the foot controller on this JUKI Platinum Edition TL 2020 PE, this limited edition machine that they made right in the middle of the pandemic, has a cool feature that I didn't know about initially when I was doing these sew-offs after I got done servicing the machine, and that is down on the foot controller. There it is. If you push your heel against the bottom, it's an auto thread cutter. If you push against the top, then you just sew normally, right? I didn't know about the heel part. So I kept cutting the thread, and when you keep disrupting the machine in the middle of trying to sew, this is kind of the stuff that you get right there on the back. You see some of that? Don't I say it all the time, you guys? Sometimes a teacher, always a what? Always a what? I eventually figured it out by going to the manual. I probably would have battled that a lot longer if Heather had not had the foresight to say, oh, just hang on to the manual. She's probably thinking, this is a vintage guy. This is a vintage service center, world renowned. He's very good at what he does, but he's probably never, and I think I told her I've never had a JUKI in the workshop before. That's probably not the smart thing to say when you have a customer coming in, but I was being honest. So I looked at the machine but yeah, if you keep trying to cut the thread while you're actively sewing, this is kind of what can happen. Because what happens when you push your heel against that foot controller and it cuts the thread, it cuts the bobbin thread, it cuts the top thread, and that thread, when it cuts that bobbin thread, is actually below the throat plate. And so when that needle swings down, it's grabbing that thread again to resume sewing, and it can have a little bit of a hiccup, can't it? So, but that's, it is what it is. It is what it is. So, Emma's saying, no, you didn't miss anything, Scott. Roz is not here right now. It's the medication. And again, if you're joining the live stream a little bit late, Emma, that you can see in the chat right now, just got done having a surgical procedure. She had to be kept overnight and was coming out of anesthesia and on pain medications, all that kind of blah, blah, blah stuff. And some of those pain medications might still be affecting her. But you know, if she were speaking in place of me, she'd probably be speaking a lot better than I am right now because I've got blah, blah. So yeah, these are some of the pre-tests that we did. And again, I'm using this needle, so it's a little bit of an unknown factor, truthfully, but we'll see. And then you can watch your sewing centers and your retailers to see if you might see these pop up. They're popping up in Wisconsin now, and I can tell you that they're at Walmart, so you might see them pop into your Walmart as well, depending on. I don't know how Walmart works, but I know that their buyers are real persnickety, and maybe they give them a limited market to test these in to see how well they move, off of the shelf next to the Schmetz needles. And then if they do pretty well, then they continue to expand it or something like that. But we'll see how this does today on Heather's machine. So, all right. All right. Well, let's do some sewing with this platinum JUKI. You guys have been very patient as we've been blah, blah, blah. And I won't cover any of this, but this is our local paper. It's called the Oconto Beacon. And at some point, for kicks and giggles, not now, we're going to just jump into sewing. But for kicks and giggles sometime, I want to either post these on Facebook, some of the cheap stuff that you can buy through this publication that they have in this column and that column. Some of this stuff that people are selling is just like, are you serious? And, considering I got this, I think on April 3rd, it came out. But I thought it's got to be like an April Fool's joke or something. Some of the stuff they sell is just like, wow. Wow. Okay. So let's start. I didn't actually test. I tested the protected full grain leather. I did not test the genuine Alkyd. You guys think we should try Alkyd on this $2,000 quilting machine? What do you guys think? Oh, Paula noticed this. And those of you that don't know it, Paula retired as I always get it wrong. She was a go-to nurse in the operation room, in the operatory at a hospital somewhere. So she notices things like this. Hey, Bry Guy. Welcome, Bry Guy. So what I did is I got a machine that arrived at the workshop, and the customer wanted to have it unboxed right away. And I opened up the box. I got the machine out, everything good to go, no problem. But then I'm thinking, okay, I want to be green friendly, so I'm using the X-Acto knife, this one right here. I'm using this to cut the box down, to cut it into manageable flaps. So when I throw it out on the curb for the recycle people, they can scoop it up very easily and tote it off. Because a lot of people will just throw the whole box out there, and it really they're really nice guys and gals. And they usually don't make a big fuss about it. They'll just kind of break it down a little bit and then get it into their truck and be on their way. But it slows them down. So I'm going to be a good guy, and I'm going to cut the box down. And I don't know what happened. I was cutting it down in the back hallway, and I think Hank came over to check on me and distracted me. I'm going to blame Hank. I'm going to blame Hank here. He distracted me a little bit, and I went to sweep over one of the edges, and it caught the edge of my finger. And initially when I hit it, I thought maybe it didn't break the skin because there was a delay. I must have really good, coagulation? I must have I take an iron supplement after I had that episode. You guys remember I had to go into the hospital, get the blood transfusions and everything, internal bleeding, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. So I've been taking an iron supplement, right? And maybe my iron level is high enough that the bleeding didn't start right away. It was like 2 or 3 seconds. And then all of a sudden it decided like, oh yeah, we're supposed to bleed. And it just, it's dripping, out. And so, yeah, that's Hank. What are you doing, Hank? So at any rate, that's what happened. That's the rest of the story, as they say. All right, I'm going to move this out a little bit so we can get more of a shot. Does anyone else, I got to ask something totally random of you guys. Does anyone else through the year, not just at Christmas time, does anyone else eat candy canes? I've got like a huge supply of extra candy canes that I didn't use, and I'll munch on them. I even have a little container for them. And these are just good sometimes just to pop in your mouth. So, yeah, any rate, a random share about candy canes. All right. So let's do some sewing with this machine. Did anyone answer me? I didn't see in the chat. Should we try sewing genuine Alkyd on this $2,000 JUKI? What do you guys think? You've never seen this Alkyd before. That's the thickness of it right there. Trying to get it to focus on here. Maybe if we do it like this, maybe it'll do it that way. Yeah, it's not real thin stuff. Bride Guy is saying yes! Exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. Bride Guy, I think you've been hanging out with Paula, because Paula and I have this ongoing joke whenever we're messaging each other through Facebook Messenger or through texting or anything. She usually, in the course of the conversation, will use about 3,000 or 4,000 exclamation points. You can ask her right now in the live chat. She'll tell you she does. And I will joke back with her, and I'll, sometimes I'll throw in like about a dozen exclamation points after it. But yeah, Bride Guy's been hanging out with Paula. Y'all are hanging out together because now you're part of the exclamation point club. Does anyone else want to join the exclamation point club? If you do, type into the chat right now an exclamation point with something. And yeah, you should do that. I love it. You guys are so awesome. You guys are the best. Okay, let's do some sewing. I don't know how long we've been blah, blah, blahing. And holy Jiminy Crickets. You guys know we have so much fun, and you guys make so many new friends and interact with so many people during these live streams and stuff. We've been going like 47 minutes already, and we haven't even sewed on this machine yet. All right. So again, we've got this new style type 9014 universal needle by that company that I showed you, whoever they are. And our thread is a Coates and Clark all-purpose thread, which means, and I've told you guys about the all-purpose threads before, they're a little bit more of a substandard thread, and I'm sure Coates and Clark would not appreciate me saying that, right? They wouldn't appreciate it, but it's true. And so we're dealing with a little bit of a cheap thread, and we're really kind of setting ourselves up for failure today, aren't we? We've got this cheap thread by Coates and Clark. I'll just say kind of the lower end thread. And then we're dealing with a needle that's an unknown commodity. We're dealing with a needle that's an unknown commodity. So this should be pretty exciting. This should be pretty doggone exciting. Yeah. Paula is like going crazy with exclamation points. Oh man. So we do have metal here, by the way. If you guys wondered, that is metal. Yeah. All right. Let's put this machine to the test. And I'll try to push on the top of the foot controller instead of the bottom so I don't keep cutting the thread while I'm trying to sew. Let's avoid that. So, let me show you guys something else real quick. Sorry about that. So let me show you something else. So this is our stitch length controller on the machine right here. And you can see, you can go all the way, I mean, who would go down to 0? Nobody. But you can go all the way down to 0, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And again, I believe the book said that when you go all the way to 6, you're at like a 6 millimeter stitch, something like that. So it's a huge stitch. So we're going to go, isn't that a fun little clicking sound? All right, let's just do it. Come on, let's just go all the way. We're going to go all the way to 6. So we're going to sew the max size stitch on this TL 2020 PE Platinum Edition. I'm just going to start saying this JUKI because otherwise you guys are going to start text bombing me or something like that. So, and I've got the speed set right now kind of in the middle. You see our rabbit and our tortoise. So we're going to be sewing at a medium speed. This, according to the book, if you go all the way up to the rabbit right there, you can do 1,500 stitches per minute with this JUKI Platinum. If you go all the way up to the rabbit, 1,500 stitches per inch, 1,500 stitches per minute is cooking. I mean, that's flying. So we're not going to be going for, trying to, break the sound barrier. We're going to go right about in the middle. And I think I explained, maybe I didn't. This is reverse. That's our reverse. This is our feed dog drop. This is our needle up. And this is our auto thread cutter thingy over here. Plus, you can do it with the foot controller. And plus, if you're old school like me, you can do it again on the back of the machine right here on the faceplate with this manual cutter right there. Just kind of draw the thread through sort of a thing and you can cut it. So, yeah. All right. So let's try this genuine Alkyd. And again, we've got a machine that is set up with a 1.1 amp motor. That's the equivalent of about a FOF machine. And it would be almost 3 times the power of a Singer Featherweight 221. So it's a strong machine. There's no doubt about that. So let me get our take-up arm at the highest position and we will launch into this. And again, we're going to be laying down. I've got to pull this foot controller out a little bit or I'm going to end up cutting the thread again while I'm doing this. All right, let's give it a go. See how this machine does. Here we go. Yeah. Even on medium. What? Did you see that? Holy microwave oven. That was crazy. Wow. It doesn't have any issues with Alkyd. It just blasted that Alkyd, as a matter of fact. Jiminy crickets. You guys want to rewind that and watch it again, you might have to do that. Holy mackerel. JUKI, again, didn't come on the scene making machines really until the 1940s. Not until the 1940s. And those are gorgeous stitches too. Let me show those to you. As a matter of fact, you know what? Let me show them to you on Paula's display thing that I haven't used for a while. Shame, shame. At Christmas time, let's see if we can do it like that. I think that'll work. At Christmas time, Paula sent me a goodie box. A couple folks sent me, goodie boxes. And one of the things she made was this really cool stitch off display holder thing. This is what I was using, which is perfectly fine. This one right here. And what is that? What is this? The bottom part, what is that game that people play that they use these to display the letters or whatever it is they display on them? What is that? That game? Is it Scrabble or something like that? I don't remember. Oh, Paula is saying it's Scrabble. So somebody was kind enough, I think it was Emma, that I was having trouble I was doing all kinds of bizarre things in trying to display after I did a stitch off. I think I was using painter's tape to tape it to the machine and just all kinds of weirdo things. And so she sent the bottom part and then I adapted it. I drilled holes. I drilled holes in the top and then I put super glue or something like that in there. And then I put these wires in and then I put these little covers on them so I could display sew-offs. And then Paula, because Paula's a classy gal, and so is Emma. Let me just say that. Both of these are classy gals. Paula says, let me send you something that's more vintage flavor. And so I set this one to the side and I started using this one, which is really cool. And she did all this. She cut all this stuff out and very talented, crafty gal. But at any rate, this is our sew-off holder for this live stream right now. And let's zoom in and look at these huge stitches that this JUKI platinum blah, blah, blah just did. Let me see if I can get close enough to these. Okay, I think I got it lined up almost. I almost got it. I almost got it. You have to kind of peek over the top at that one. The little leg is in the way. Ah. Folks, those are gorgeous stitches. And again, you saw this JUKI just blast through this genuine Alkyd. Now, I wonder how that lock stitch is going to look. Let's turn it around and look at that lock stitch. And that's also a page 34 lock stitch too. Absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous stitching by this 2-year-old JUKI Platinum Edition. Oh, let me move a little bit closer. Those are huge stitches, aren't they? They might be close to 6 millimeters. But again, it's a little bit harder to see the lock stitch on the back of this Alkyd. I'll tell you one thing. I can confidently say, and again, look at the side of that stuff. That is not a light sew off at all, folks. That is the equivalent of the thickness of a man's or a woman's belt when you look at it. Very, very thick stuff, this Alkyd. So, wow. Wow. And again, I think this is our first official JUKI that I'm showing on this channel. And it launched into it like that. Well, you guys have already seen them. I'm not going to belabor it. It blasted. It totally blasted that Alkyd. So what are we going to sew next? Let me see what we're going to sew next. I'm going to set that in the back as a definite pass. Let's see. Let me show you what I have over here, and you guys can tell me what you think. So what I have prepared, and I didn't prepare a huge amount. I've obviously got 100% cotton, kind of like I was testing the machine on after I got done servicing it. And it's got a stiffener in between it, 2 thin layers, 100% cotton. So that's choice number one that we could do. We could sew a variety of different stitches. I've got more of that protected full grain leather. I've got more Alkyd. I don't know that we need to sew that again, but I've got it. We've got saddle grade leather, single layer, saddle grade leather in kind of a fun shape where I could really move that speed down towards the tortoise and try stitching around maybe the outer edge using this JUKI like I've done on other machines. And then I just got more of a kind of a rectangular square type piece of saddle grade leather as well. I didn't prepare a lot because I know the customer is anxious to get this machine back. And I wanted to say, yep, it's been premiered. Yep, it's been tested. We're good to go. We're ready to rock and roll. So we're going to be sewing cotton in a variety of different leathers. And I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of impressed with how that needle, this unknown needle to most everybody in the live stream, see if I can get it out again in case you're joining the live stream a little bit late. This is the needle that we're sewing with today. Again, it's starting to roll out in major retailers. I got these at Walmart, and they're on the shelf right next to Schmetz needles. So it's a 9014 universal needle. I got a couple packs of these. Try them out. and they were dirt cheap. I think this pack was like two something, like 265. So they're really trying to get people, to kind of entice them to try it at that price. I mean, you're getting 5 needles for about $2.50 or something like that. So that's pretty doggone good. So that's what we're sewing with, and it's done a good job so far. I mean, we've only done one sew off along with the off camera ones, but still. So Eddie is saying, do the cotton. Thanks, Eddie. 8 layers. You really want me to have to repair this machine again, don't you? 8 layers of saddle grade leather. Oh, military canvas. I read that wrong. I don't have any canvas cut, Eddie. I don't have any canvas cut right now, my friend, but I'll definitely, I can, I should sew more canvas. I haven't done a lot of canvas lately, but I should definitely do that. But if I sew canvas and I actually did 8 layers of it on this machine, I would probably shorten the stitch up a little bit. I wouldn't do a 6 on the setting. I'd probably do like a 4 or something like that. So for right now, why don't we go into the cotton? That's kind of what Eddie was suggesting. And we'll try to go through the entire stitch length range that this machine is capable of doing. And I should also point out as well, with some machines, you're kind of at a loss when you're trying to adjust presser foot pressure as to where you're at. Where are you at in that range? JUKI tries to make it really easy, and so they've got this little window right on the front of the faceplate. You can see that little blue line in the middle. That's where our presser foot pressure is right now. So we're right about in the middle range of what it's capable of being set at. And then we've got the adjuster right on top here. And obviously, if you turn it clockwise, it's going to increase this. If you turn it counterclockwise, it's going to decrease it and lighten that presser foot pressure a little bit more for lighter materials like this cotton that we're sewing. But, being the rebel that I am, and having gone through this machine, as you'll see in the Facebook shots later today, from Bob and the balance wheel and then some, I'm going to leave it right about in the middle and see how the feed works in the middle range when you're sewing a lighter cotton material with this stabilizer. The stabilizer is going to give us a little bit of an edge in having success, I think, without having to change this dramatically down. So, and obviously down would be if that little blue bar is going up, and if you're going heavier, we're going to be moving that blue bar further down. So, but I think that's kind of a nice feature, don't you? And then if you want to service the machine, you're able to open that faceplate very easily, and you're able to get into that faceplate area. And there are some lubrication points in here as well, along with the electronics. There's some electronics in there, and you'll see the Facebook shots where there's other computerized features underneath the top cover to manage that needle up, the auto cutting, and stuff like that. So, but interestingly, in the manual, I'll just tell you guys this: in the manual, it does not give you any lubrication points in the faceplate area, which I think is a huge mistake. I think they're maybe concerned that somebody's going to get kind of crazy with the oil and hit the LED light with oil or something else like that. But there are a number, I would say at least a half a dozen key lubrication points inside of the faceplate that you should be hitting with oil. And they're trying to make up for it. I'll just show you guys real quick since we're already kind of talking about the maintenance of the machine. And if you've got one of these limited edition platinum machines, in your book, it's going to tell you lubricate here. Wait, let me rotate that down. It's going to tell you to lubricate in that little hole right there, not on this daisy wheel circle thing. This is for attaching attachments to, like a hem guide or something like that. That's all this does. But there's a lubrication point right behind it right there. And then there's another lubrication point right near the pillar over there. So we have two so far, right? Two lubrication points, one there and one right over there. The only other places that the manual tells you to lubricate this machine is these two right here on top in close proximity to the faceplate and the presser foot knob control thing. Right there, right there. And then right over here, this one and this one. They only give you, you can count them, 2, 4, 6. They give you 6 lubrication points according to the manual for this machine. That, you know what, if you take the machine in every year to be serviced at a, at my workshop or at a place that would do more detailed servicing, that probably will be okay. But there's so many other lubrication points on this machine that should be done about every 10 to 12 hours of sewing. And some of them are kind of tough to get to on the bottom. You got to take the bottom of the cover off on the machine, which takes a total of 6 bolts, I believe. And you got to tilt the machine back, and you've got to be mindful that part of the assembly back here is plastic housing as well. So you don't want to just flip the machine back. It's a relatively heavy machine. It's almost 30 pounds. So, this is not the type of machine that you'll probably want to be taking to quilt retreats, unless you've got, a carrying, what I'm talking about, the thing on wheels, one of those fancy things you can kind of slide it in like Heather has, and then you could tote it around a little bit more. But let's just say when you're lifting this up by this handle up here, you know that this machine is built well because it is a heavy, heavy machine. So at any rate, my only criticism is the manual, which otherwise gives some great operating tips for a dummy like me that doesn't realize that the foot controller, if you push with your heel, is going to keep cutting the thread and a number of other things. But it only gives those 6 oiling points, and I think that that's missing. It's missing a lot of critical areas on this Platinum Edition that the owner should know about, especially if they're trying to do their own servicing of the machine and maintain that machine. So, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I think they kind of missed the boat there. All right, so let's go through. We've already got our stitch length set on 6, you can see. So we're going to be doing one of those huge stitches, and then we're going to tear down and do a stitch line of 5, 4, 3, 2, finally 1 to test this on 100% cotton. All right, let's do that now. You kind of get an idea of the workspace. Look at this workspace. Holy mackerel. Nice workspace. Very, very nice workspace. Okay. Okay, here we go. We'll do the large stitch, and then we'll kind of tear it down as we go down the line. All right, here we go. Oh, let me slow it down a little bit more because I don't want to be racing like the Dickens here. Here we go. So I'm going to do the needle up. There we go. Rotate this around. And instead of continuing to show you the stitching, you'll be able to see the stitching in this shot, I think. We'll just kind of go down the line, and then we can look at all the stitches once we get done, if that's okay. But I can already tell you these are some really good looking stitches. All right, let's do the next one. We'll line this up, and then we'll set it on 5 and see what that looks like. I kind of have that crooked a little bit. Let me straighten that out. I'm trying to keep from bumping the camera because the camera is like right next to me here. So you can already catch a glimpse of those huge, I'll just call them like mega JUKI stitches. Beautiful, beautiful stitch quality. And the lock stitch looks just as good. So now we need to change that little stitch length selector from 6 to 5. And I'm not going to insult your intelligence by taking the camera over there. All you do is turn it clockwise. And there are other points in between the stitch length as well. You can hear that clicking, I think. you could certainly do a 5.25 or a 5.5 or something like that as well. You don't have to strictly go like I'm going to whole numbers. You could be a little bit more of a rebel and go for those middle points as well. So now we're going to be doing a 5 as far as the stitch length. Let's see what that looks like. All right, take-up arm is all the way up. We're ready to go. All right, so this is our 5 now. And that is, let me show you where the speed is set right now. Give you an idea why the book says that's where I'm set right now on speed. That's why the book tells you that this machine, if you go all the way up to the rabbit, you're going to be doing about 1,500 stitches per minute, 1,500 stitches per minute. That's light industrial size, or light industrial speed, excuse me. That's light industrial speed. That's almost commercial speed, depending on the garments that are being made. That is flying. And even adjusted way down here, we're still kicking it out big time. We're still kicking it out. And that stitch looks really good too. That looks very, very nice. All right, let's throw that back. Okay, now we're going to click the stitch length down to 4. I don't see a huge difference. I'm sure there is. Well, yeah, if I'm looking at it more closely now through these dirty reading glasses, I can see more of a difference now between the first stitch line, which is on 6, and the second stitch line we just did, which is set on 5. You can see it a little bit more clearly now. Now we're going to go for 4, see what we think of that. So now I'm on 4, and we'll see how that compares to these other stitch lines we've already done. And I'm going to slow the machine down even a little bit more. I'm moving quickly towards the tortoise, y'all. I'm moving quickly towards the tortoise. Oh, goodbye, Eddie. I just glanced over at the live chat. Eddie has to scoot off. I get it. It's a Saturday. Saturdays are busy, aren't they? So now we're going to stitch this next one. We're going to be on 4. I've slowed the machine down even a little bit more so I can manage that speed more effectively. All right, here we go. Again, this is 4 as far as stitch length. Here we go. Oh, yeah, that's more my speed. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Needle up. Oh, yeah, you can start to see it tearing down in size now. But, there's such robust stitches that it's really kind of gradual. It's not dramatic like when we're going from full size to satin or something like that. And you're like, whoa, that's a big difference. These are gradual. These are really gradual. You can kind of look at that in the shot. I think you'll be able to see some of it. I'm trying to do something unprecedented, and that is try to sew straight today, just for the heck of it, So now I'm going to be changing that stitch length dial from 4. I'll just kind of pop over real quick if you join the live stream a little bit late. Now I'm going to be changing it from 4, where we're at right now, kind of a little bit over 4, aren't we? Now we're going to be going all the way down to 3. We'll try that out, see what we think. Okay, let's do 3 next. All right, here we go. And listen to this machine run. I'm hoping I've got the heater running because it's still kind of cold in the workshop. I'll shut the heater off for a second. There we go. Now we're going to have really quiet workshop. Really, really quiet. It's incredibly quiet right now. So I want you to listen to this machine run. I want you to hear how smoothly it runs. Again, a lot of the contemporary machines that are not made to this standard, not made to this quality. Somebody just sent me a message. This is exciting. Who was it? Somebody sent me a message. Hold on a second. I never get messages like this, so I'm just curious. Who is this? Oh, okay. This I just got a text from the featherweight owner. I'll be finishing the assembly of that machine over the weekend, and then I'll be premiering it next week. That's the featherweight that came in with all kinds of challenges. And at any rate, you can look at the Facebook shots. I just posted 2 or 3 more sets of photos of that featherweight today, including some motor work that I did. And that was just the owner just touching base. So, that's a cool thing about the relationship I try to build with my customers is they can text me anytime and I'll reply to it, and give them that immediate access. It's not like you have to go through a receptionist or some weird stuff like that. It's just I want that. Oh, hey Mindy, welcome to Mindy from Las Vegas, Nevada. All right, so we're on 3 now, you guys. Let's see how 3 looks for this. I got to say the whole name of the machine, you guys. I just got to do it for this JUKI TL 2020 PE Platinum Edition. Yeah, yeah, that's a long. What kind of model do you have? How much time do you have? Yeah, how much time do you have? All right, listen to this machine run, you guys. Listen to this machine run. It's not clanky, it's not tinny, it doesn't sound plastic cheap, it sounds quality. See if you agree. See if you agree. Here we go. I like the sound of this machine. I just do. It runs really, really well. All right, so now, and here's a dramatic change. When we went from 4 to 3, you can all of a sudden see that stitch length drop. I think fairly dramatically. Or maybe I'm just being dramatic right now. So this is, and again, we're dealing with this unknown commodity needle. Let me show you what we've done so far instead of leaving you guys kind of hanging. This is what we've done so far. The far left is our 6, then our 5, then our 4, and then we just did our 3 right there. Folks, this is a 2-year-old machine. It is about as contemporary can be. It runs smooth, incredibly strong, wicked fast, 1,500 stitches per minute if you go all the way to the rabbit. We've sewn already genuine Alkyd with it, and it blasted the Alkyd like it was, are you kidding? This is supposed to be a challenge? And now we're doing this 100% cotton, and it's laying down solid page 34 stitching. This is our top stitch. You can see that. We turn it over. Our lock stitch is just as sexy, just as gorgeous. That's our lock stitch right there. So I don't know about you guys, but I think JUKI has bragging rights that they made a machine, or at least they released a machine, a limited edition machine, in the middle of a pandemic. In the middle of a pandemic. And they built it, in my opinion, having just gone through this machine extensively, they built it to a quality standard that is brag-worthy. And now we're putting it to the test under the bright lights of a live stream like this. There's no fudging when you're live streaming, like some of these YouTubers will do, where they'll go back through and they'll edit and they'll edit and they'll edit and they'll edit to try to make the machine that they're probably trying to sell, that all they did was wipe it off with a microfiber cloth and maybe some polish. They're trying to make that a marketable machine, and they have to edit that puppy to death. We don't have to do that on this channel. We just go through it and make it happen. And we lay down stitching like that. So we're going to go now down to 2 on this next sew off and see what we think of that. And I'm kind of glad I left the presser foot pressure where it was in that middle range, because all in all, with that stiffener and this 100% cotton, it's doing a good job of managing that material, feeding it underneath the presser foot, feeding it over the feed dogs. It's doing a very, very good job. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm adjusting that stitch length down to 2. And we're going to be making that stitch even more teeny tiny. And speaking of teeny tiny, and this is again a lady that just got out of the hospital. I got to give some credit to Emma here. She just gets out of the hospital and she's still in the hospital when I get this package, right? I get this package because folks are just incredibly kind and they will just decide, I found something that I think Scott would like that'll look cool in his workshop, and I'm going to send it to him. I'm going to send it to him. So Emma, who's in the live chat right now, just got out of the hospital, joined the last live stream, was still hooked up to IVs. She dropped this in the mail to me, and I talked about teeny tiny. Look at this little guy. If that isn't cute, I don't know what is cute. Plus, she knew that John Deere has Wisconsin roots. And when she came across this little cow, she said, not only is it a cow for cow country, but it's also a John Deere cow, or at least a John Deere quilt. And she dropped this in the mail. Isn't that cute? Isn't that awesome? And no, I do not have a name for this little guy yet. So if anybody has any name suggestions, feel free to type it into the chat so that we can name this cutie and give, I'm assuming it's got to be a girl, right? Got the lace collar and everything on her outfit. So we've got to come up with a name for this little girl cow. And she's sitting on, holy mackerel, that cannot be comfortable. She's sitting on spools and other things like that. Look at that. Holy mackerel. Oh, goodbye to Paula. Paula's having to shuffle off. So if you have a name thought for this, type it in the live chat. And maybe we'll name this little girl that name. So, yeah. Okay. So let's do this next stitch line. Again, we're all the way down to 2 now. We are getting down into the teeny tiny range for this JUKI Platinum Edition. Yeah. So let's do this one now. Number 2, as far as stitch length. See what we think of this. Here we go. All right, needle up. Let's see what we think of this one. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're starting to get down into the satin micro range. Look at that one we just did. That is, wow. We're not even all the way down yet. We still have 1 to do. We still have 1. All right, let's do 1, and then we can look at all these stitches together. I'll put them on Paula's display thing, her sew-off display holder that she was so kind to make. All right, let's put that down. And now we're going all the way down to 1. That's as low as I'm going. That is as low as I'm going to go. There's no way I'm going below that. And look at where I bumped this down as far as speed. We're almost down to the tortoise. And we still have more than enough get up and go to launch into these sew-offs. So pretty impressive. I think JUKI did it right with this. We'll call it the pandemic special edition machine that they were offering to customers during the pandemic. Pretty awesome. Pretty gritty folks. I mean, they're not afraid to do something that a lot of the other manufacturers were hunkering down. And JUKI jumps out there and says, we're going to offer a special edition machine. I think that's super cool. All right, let's do this next one. This is the one setting on stitch length, which is taking us down about as far as you can go with this machine. You could certainly go below this point, but then you run into some issues potentially with material feed and you really with maintaining the clarity of that stitch. I mean, when you get so small, you're almost stitching over another stitch. So let's see how it manages this stitch, which is super, super teeny tiny. Here we go. And needle up. And I keep saying needle up. All I'm doing, so I don't have to rotate the balance wheel, because the needle is down, obviously, right now, is I'm just giving it a quick tap. And again, you can also use that needle up feature as well when you're setting this machine up to sew and you're trying to pull that thread up from the bobbin case, which is kind of nice. I think that's kind of cool. Oh my goodness gravy, that is a tiny stitch. That is a very, very tiny stitch. Very, very tiny. We'll set this up on the display thing so we can look at this a little bit more easily. So the stitch length range on this Platinum Edition JUKI, again, just remember the year of the pandemic, 2020. This is the TL 2020 PE. Does anyone want to Google? Because I didn't. You guys know guys and reading instructions and reading books. We generally don't do it unless we're desperate. And I don't know what the PE stands for. Title or model for this machine, PE Platinum Edition. What the heck is PE? And maybe it doesn't mean anything. Manufacturers do that sometimes, just like they do with cars. They'll come up with these letters that follow the model, and you're like, well, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. So let me get this set up on the display, and we'll look at all of these stitches that we just did. We'll look at the top stitch first, and I'm going to do my best. Let me see if I can. Oh, I can put it up there. That's kind of fun. Look at that. I love it. That is so cute. Oh, I love. Oh, it's such a cute family, isn't it? Can you imagine them at a family reunion? Yeah, yeah, you could. All right, let's get even closer. Right about there, I think. So there you can see. I'm going to kind of move back and forth. And again, that bottom row is so small. I'm going to try to get a little bit closer if the camera will stay focused, hopefully. Put that down a little bit. I think that'll help. So I think those are some, and again, we're using an unknown commodity as far as this needle that I showed you guys several times. And I think it's doing a decent job, all in all. I think it's doing a decent job of maintaining some good stitch clarity, even when we got all the way down to this range down here, which is going to be about 30 stitches per inch. Totality of the stitching, kind of come out a little bit, right about to there, maybe a little bit more in. I think that this machine did an excellent job of sewing this 100% cotton through a huge range of stitch lengths. Again, here we're looking at the largest stitch, which is on the 6 setting, and they're saying it's probably close to 6 millimeters. And then we tiered it down from 6 to 5 to 4 to 3 to 2, all the way down to 1. One is so small, I don't know that I can even show it to you. It's probably not going to stay in focus, is it? Maybe on an angle. I mean, it's so those stitches are so small, it's virtually impossible for this camera to focus in on them. Maybe you're watching this on a big screen TV and then you'll be able to see them more easily. But did an excellent job. I just tried turning the light on to see if that helps. No, it doesn't. It's actually worse with the light on. Let me turn it over. We'll look at that lock stitch now. I'm very impressed. Very, very impressed with how it managed this. Turn it around. Now we're going to look at that lock stitch. There we go. And again, from what I'm seeing, we probably, if we were sewing 100% cotton with stiffener all day long, we would probably want to consider backing off that upper tension a little bit, because here we're seeing a very pronounced lock stitch. And the top stitch on the other side of this was really quite excellent. It was definitely page 34, but we can always make things better, right? We can always make things better. And so I would look at backing the upper tension off. Again, the upper tension came in pieces with 2 broken parts into the workshop, and I did too good of a job of fixing it, because now it's saying, okay, we're going to give you a lock stitch, baby. We're going to give you a lock stitch. And you can cut, I kind of go back and forth here. You can look at that lock stitch. It is gorgeous. But it's probably, oh, there we go. Now I have the camera facing the right way. It's probably going to be a little bit too poppy, and we should be giving something back to that top stitch. We've got to give something back to the top stitch. So we would be backing this off a little bit so we could have an equal balance between the two. Look at that bottom row. That is crazy. That's absolutely crazy. So totality of the stitching on this 100% cotton, go right about there. I think it really evidences that you've got some contemporary machines that are not even no, I won't say that. I almost said something I would regret. I almost said that there are some contemporary machines that are not even worthy to be on this channel, are not even worthy of your time for me to present them to you. But that's a very cruel thing to say, because I always say that any machine is capable of reaching greatness to its own level. There's different levels of greatness, I think. But this JUKI Platinum Edition that came out during the pandemic, I think it's worthy of your time, and it's certainly worthy of being on this channel. And it was certainly a machine that was worthy of Heather investing a lot of money in buying it, because it's laying down stitching that is absolutely page 34. Yeah. All right, let me set the camera back over here. Let's do a little bit more leather sewing to put this universal unknown commodity needle to the test with this very contemporary JUKI machine. See how it does. See how it does. And I better remember to change the stitch length back to a reasonable level first. Right around, why don't we say 4.5? We'll go right around 4.5. That's where I just adjusted it to. And I'll throw these in the back as well, so I can give those to Heather when she comes to pick up this machine very shortly. All right. And now that you've heard the machine running several times, I'm going to be selfish and turn my heater back on because it's cool here today. All right, so let's do some more leather sewing. Let's do some more leather sewing. So again, I've got these as far as materials that I prepared. I've got a lot of saddle grade leather. I would definitely like to try that. And then we could slow it down to tortoise speed, and I could see if I could stitch around this. And then we've got more protected full grain leather. We could sew down and around with this maybe. I don't know what we're going to do with that huge piece of saddle grade leather. And then I've got more of the Alkyd, but you've already seen this machine blast through two layers, or excuse me, through a single layer of Alkyd. Maybe that's what we could do. Maybe we could go back to back with these. They're not real even, are they? We could go back to back with these and do two layers of Alkyd. And I hope that Heather isn't in the live stream right now, because if she sees me sewing two layers of Alkyd of this thickness on her platinum edition, she might kick my door in. She might kick the door in. You guys think we should try this? Are we that crazy to try sewing this much leather with a 2-year-old contemporary JUKI quilting machine? I mean, seriously? Especially with an unknown quantity or an unknown quantity sewing needle that we're testing out today. Should we do it? Are we that insane at Cow Country? Are we that much rebels? Really? What do you think? Come on, you guys, chime in, or I'm going to throw this to the side, and the opportunity to try it potentially will be off the table. It's going off the table in about 10 seconds. In about 10 seconds, it's off the table. If you snooze, you lose. Emma's a rebel to the end. Emma's a rebel to the end. She's saying, you doggone right we should do it. And Scott, if it's in the right place, if you break Heather's Platinum Edition machine, it's in the right place. You can always fix it again. So we're going to do it. I know some vintage machines. I know a lot of vintage machines, especially if they haven't gone through the workshop magic, that would not be able to handle this sew off. Look at that. That's about 12 to 14 ounces, 12 to 14 ounces of genuine Alkyd. 12 to 14 ounces of genuine Alkyd being sewn potentially by this JUKI contemporary machine. All right, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. And I'm just going to buzz down. I'll buzz down the left side. And that way, if Heather wants to be a rebel as well, since it's her machine, she can always elect to be a rebel also. All right, and I've got these back to back, so we should be able to see the stitch quality very nicely. All right, yes, I'm a little bit nervous. I'm a little bit nervous because this is a $2,000 quilting machine. It's a $2,000 quilting machine, and you can see in the shot, the side, what we're going to be sewing through. I need a little bit of music, you guys. I need music. I need some music. Hold on. I need Japanese music. Come on, give me some Japanese music, you guys. Come on. Yes. This is really good Japanese music, actually. All right, here we go. I don't know if this is a good idea. Look at the thickness, you guys. Oh my gosh. I better just pull the checkbook out, you know? I might as well just pull the checkbook out right now and say, Heather, I was trying to show the guys and gals, I was trying to show the Cow Country family how amazing your JUKI model TL 2020 PE Platinum Edition is. And I showed 2 layers of Alkyd, and that upper tension that blew up before blew up again, plus other things blew up as well. I don't know. I don't know if this is a good idea, you guys. I don't know. Well, creative Grammy, which I think is our friend from Hawaii, Aloha. I think it's our friend from Hawaii. She's giving me encouragement. She said she's got a model that came after this pandemic limited edition. Because again, they only made so many of these, and Heather was able to get her hands on one. Grammy from Hawaii is saying, Scott, no fear, baby. No fear. You got this. You took this machine through your process. It could sew patio blocks if you could get them underneath the presser foot. This is no big deal. Yeah, it's a lot of leather. So what? So what? So I'm going to go. Yes, I did. I did lengthen the stitch. We're at right around a 4.5. 6 is our max. We're right at about 4.5. So we're going to try to go through this. We're going to do it. Grammy from Hawaii said, no worries. I got a model that came after this. It's my workhorse. I'll bet you though. Here's the reality check though for my dear friend from Hawaii. Did you ever sew 14 ounces of genuine Alkyd on your workhorse? Did you ever sew this much leather on your workhorse? Did you ever do it? I'll believe whatever you tell me, but I would be shocked if you did. I would be shocked. All she gave me is a thumbs up. Grammy gave me a thumbs up. Have you ever sewed this much leather on your machine? Just say yes or no. Creative Grammy, have you ever done 14 ounces of leather like this Alkyd? Alkyd, again, is not just leather. It's chemically processed, similar to protective full grain leather, to galvanize it, to make it incredibly high on the wear factor and very, very difficult to penetrate, even with a questionable needle like this. Creative Grammy is a kick. She says, I don't need Alkyd in Hawaii. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm gonna do something special for Creative Grammy because I think she is delightful. If you reach out to me privately after this live stream and send me your address in Hawaii, I will send you a couple samples of this genuine Alkyd, and you can try it. Even if you only go with a single layer, it's still about 4 or 5 ounces of leather. You can try it on your later edition of the JUKI machine that you use as your workhorse. So I'll leave that up to you. If you want to either text me or email me or send me a Facebook Messenger note, I'll send you some free samples of this Alkyd in Hawaii. Yes, I will. All right, let's give this a go. I had my Japanese music. I feel supercharged. Creative Grammy has also encouraged me and said, Scott, you got this. You got this. So let's see if we got it. Again, I'm not sure about this needle. We break a needle, I'll put a new needle in and we'll try it again. How does that sound? I'm also going to be smart. And we're sewing so much leather temporarily, I think we should bump our presser foot pressure up. So I'm going to give it a couple of turns. and get us right about down to there. We went up almost 2 notches. Is that in focus? I can't tell. There it is. So I just bumped that up as well, so we have better feed when we're trying to go through this huge thickness of Alkyd. All right, here we go. Let's give it a go. Let's see what happens. I hate saying that, but let's see what happens. Here we go. That was it? Creative Grammy from Hawaii is a very smart, very, very smart person. She said, don't worry about it. It's my, I have a later version of this. It's my workhorse. No hand start. I've got the speed set way down. So no one that's a skeptic of this machine could say, yeah, but you had the speed ratcheted way up. And that's how you were able to plow through those 2 layers of genuine Alkyd, about 14 ounces of leather. I've got it almost down to the tortoise. But again, this machine is set up with a 1.1 amp motor, the same size motor that you would find in the vintage FOF machines. And it just went through this genuine Alkyd like it was no big deal. Let me hit my needle up. There we go. Did it maintain stitch quality? That's the big deal, though. Did it maintain stitch quality? I can already tell you the answer to that. I'm looking at the stitches right here. These stitches are page 34 brag-worthy. They're page 34 brag-worthy through this much leather using Heather's machine. And again, if Heather is being taken to the ER right now because she was so nervous about what we did, they can give her some oxygen and she can relax a little bit. The only thing I'm seeing, though, and I'm almost leaning towards the idea that we have to do this again. We've got to sew through this. We've got to sew through this one more time. And I'll tell you why. Because it did it. Number one, it did it so easily, it was almost embarrassing. And it laid down a page 34 top stitch. You can see that in the shot. I hope you can see that in the shot. It laid down a page 34 top stitch through all of that leather. But the upper tension that I was boasting about, that I just repaired and replaced 2 pieces in it, was not turned up high enough for this much leather. It's not a bad looking lock stitch. It's not horrible, but it's a little weak. Just about there. It's a provisional page 34. But we're always committed to making things better, aren't we? On this channel, we're never happy with mediocrity. We always want to make things better. So even though that's a passable lock stitch through that much leather, using a needle that is not a Schmetz needle. We're not sewing with a Schmetz needle today, folks. And we just went through that much leather. It's passable, but we can make it better. Don't you agree? Couldn't we make it better? I think so. So we're going to sew this one more time as if we're not already testing this JUKI that belongs to leather, that belongs to Heather. We're sewing leather with Heather's machine. Heather, leather, leather, Heather. I feel like I'm doing a tongue twister, and I am. But we're going to see if we can make this lock stitch even a little bit better. So we're going back underneath the presser foot, and I'm going to make a slight adjustment to our upper tension to try to reel this in a little bit more. And we're going to sew it one more time. I should probably stop while I'm ahead, but you know me. You guys know me. So this is our upper tension right here. You can see with a little blue ring that we're right about at 2. I think we're right about at 2, somewhere in that realm. There we are. Now you can actually see it. So I'm going to bump it up. I'm going to bump it up like one number, somewhere between 2 to 3. Yep, 2 to 3. 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I turned up about 10 turns, which sounds like a lot, but it only took us up about like one step. Only about one step. I'm going to go one more just for fun. All right, let's see how Heather's leather sewing quilting machine does this time. All right. And yes, I'm a little bit nervous, just a little bit, just a wee bit nervous. All right, let me get that take up arm to the highest position. Let's give this another try. We bumped our upper tension up. Let's see if that's going to get us closer to a poppy stitch. Wait a second. Wait a second. Let me double check something. Yep. Okay. Just double checking I had the leather orientated right. All right, here we go again. Here we go again. And again, no hand start. Matter of fact, let me do this so y'all can see that. There we go. I want you to see that I'm not giving this machine a hand start. I've got the speed turned way down, almost to tortoise speed. So this is the sheer grit. This is the sheer grit and the power of that 1.1 amp motor in the back that I serviced when I went through this machine. Let's see if it can do it again and give us even a better lock stitch. It's not a bad lock stitch at all if you look at it, but it could be more poppy. All right, let's see what we find. Here we go. Needle up. All right, the proof will be in the pudding when we get to the back side of this and see how it did in defining that stitch a little bit better. And it could be, before I point strictly at a tension factor, it could also be the needle, couldn't it? I've done quite a bit of work on this needle already. It's not a Schmetz needle, but we'll see if increasing that upper tension helped bring us a little bit closer to getting a poppy stitch for that lock stitch. Okay, this again is our top stitch. I'll show that to you first. This is our top stitch. Obviously, the left row is the first one we did. The one next to it is the one we did second. Folks, that is some beautiful stitching. Very, very beautiful stitching. Definitely page 34. And again, look at the thickness of what we just went through. 2 layers of genuine Alkyd. That is off the hook as far as crazy. Now we're going to look at that lock stitch. That's where we're looking right now, at that lock stitch. Simply increasing the upper tension, if the needle is starting to fail, or it simply isn't engineered as well as a Schmetz needle, which I suspect it probably isn't. But let's give it the benefit of the doubt. We bumped up the upper tension. Let's see if that second stitch row brings us a little bit closer to having more clarity on that lock stitch, okay? Let's get a little closer to the camera. We'll take a look at that. I'm going all over the place. Sorry about that. Okay, and I'm also going to turn it sideways because it's sometimes a little bit easier to see that stitch definition when we look at it from the side like this as well. This again is our lock stitch right now. That's our lock stitch. You can see that leather from the side, you guys. Well, I am incredibly impressed and incredibly pleased with how this contemporary JUKI, again, I'll just call it the Platinum Edition that came out in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic, how it's managing all of the sew-offs that we've given to it so far, including a sew-off that most people would not expect to see on a quilting machine like this, a machine that is certainly very strong, but is really designed for quilting. This is a quilting machine, and yet it's got that big 1.1 amp motor, and sewing off on leather like this is another application that someone could use this machine for. Maybe somebody else that got it during the pandemic bought it specifically because they wanted to have that large harp space and they wanted to make leather products that they could sell. Maybe they lost their job. A lot of people lost their jobs during that pandemic as businesses were closed. And I wouldn't be surprised, based on what I've seen today, with this machine with no hand start and a less than stellar needle. Again, this is the needle we're using today, you guys. It's an unknown commodity. It's a machine needle right now it's starting to roll out in Walmarts, and I'm guessing other sewing locations as well, by this company. It's a universal 9014 needle, and I wanted to put it to the test today. And all in all, it's done a very, very good job. But I'm still going to stick with my Schmetz needles. You guys know that, right? You know that. Even if I fall in love with this and it's half the price of the Schmetz needles, which it pretty much is. Again, I think I paid $2.65 for this pack from Walmart. I'm still going to stick with my Schmetz needles. I just am. But still, it did a good job of saying, hey, give me a chance here, guys. Give me a chance. I can sew leather that's off the hook and do a decent job. I can lay down page 34 stitching once the camera comes into focus. Let me turn my little light on, see if that'll help. That might help. So I'm incredibly pleased with how this JUKI, and isn't it great that this is the first JUKI machine that's ever been on this channel. So I'm going to throw this to the back as a pass. I think I'll do a little bit of controlled sewing now, and then we'll wrap up this live stream. I know it's run a little bit longer. We'll try to wrap it up. I'll do this last sew off on this saddle grade leather, and I'm going to try to stitch around the edges, and I'm going to slow the machine down even more towards that tortoise symbol. So let me get this into place, and we'll see if we can buzz around this saddle grade leather using this JUKI. There we go. And I'm not going to try to get incredibly close to the edge, but I'll be pretty close to the edge. And this will be our last official sew off. Saddle grade leather is a great way to wrap it up, I think. Let me get my take-up arm all the way up before I forget. And again, I'm going to slow this down a little bit more, so I have some really good control, almost like our Swedish Beauty slow gear. I'm just curious to take it all the way down. I'm going to take it down to the lowest setting to give me a little bit more of an advantage of staying on course. I hope I stay on course. I'm also going to get a little bit closer since this is our last sew off. Can I get even closer? I'm probably going to bump the camera though. All right, I'll get this close, but when I go to cut the thread or rotate the material, I may end up bumping the camera. So just don't panic. You're not. Oh, okay. I hadn't been looking at the chat. Yeah, and Margaret from Alberta, Canada, was saying, I think on that last sew off that we just finished, bump up the tension and give it a go again. And that's what we did. That's what we did. Again, I'm not totally sold on this needle because I've got so much confidence in Schmetz needles and they deliver at a different level. They just do. Whatever type of Schmetz needle it is, whether it's the chrome one that Paula and Roz are using for quilting, or whether it's a universal 9014, Schmetz just has so much. They've won my confidence to the max. So, all right, a little bit of music for this last sew off, and I'll stick with a Japanese theme since this originally is a Japanese company that came out, especially with the household machines in the 1940s, right after World War II. What else do we have? I don't like that one. Yes, I like this one. This immediately makes me think of Japan, this beautiful flute, a pan flute or whatever it is. I have no idea. All right, let's do this last sew off, you guys. Here we go. All right, and I will do my best to stay on course. No promises. Here we go. I'm going to clip my threads while I have them down here. I can already tell you those are going to be some really, really lovely stitches. Oh my goodness. Here we go. I like that slower speed. That is probably the best job I've ever done of staying on course for the most part. But I do notice something. This needle is starting to fail. I see right over here that there's one out of all of that stitching we just did and all of the stitching I did after, or off camera, I should say, we have one skip stitch right there, and that's a product of that needle. We pushed it a little bit too far, a little bit too hard, and that's okay. There's so much space in there. So much space. Let me try something else. Hold on just a second. What I'm doing is I'm adjusting the stitch length down to about 2.5. And now I'm going to increase the speed on the machine, and I'm going to do my sewing in a circle. And I will even shut the heater off. We'll go to right around, I'm not going to go above mid-range. I'm not going to aim for 1,500 stitches per inch, or per inch, 1,500 stitches per minute. We're going to stay right around in the mid-range, and I'll just kind of give it a little bit more gas. Let's give that a try. And again, I think this needle is about ready to retire, but we'll see if we can fill up this space. We have all this beautiful space right here. Let's see if we can fill it up a little bit. All right, here we go. And again, I'm going to leave the music off right now so you can listen to this machine run. I'll shut off my heater as well. All in all, this needle is done okay, but yeah, it doesn't have the longevity of a Schmetz, that's for darn sure. All right, let's give this a try. Here we go. Oops. Let me cut those threads real quick or I'm going to sew over them. There we go. All right, I'm not going to push my luck. I'm going to stop right there. So the outer row, we were right at about 4.5. The inner row, I adjusted it down to 2.5. And you can kind of get a glimpse. Out of all of that stitching with this off-brand, what is it called? Hello Hobby Universal Needle. Hello Hobby Universal Needle. We had one skipped stitch on this final sew off with this saddle grade leather. So let's look at those stitches a little bit closer now. And apart from that one skip stitch, I think that, and again, it's not the machine's fault. It's not the machine's fault, considering the consistency of the stitching that we've gotten through this entire live stream. It's a product of that needle, unfortunately. It's a product of that needle. Beautiful stitching. Here, we'll set it up on Paula's stitch off holder. And we'll take a closer look. Take a closer look at these. Yeah, that's a top stitch right there. So quiet in the workshop right now. So quiet. Okay. Give me a second, y'all. Boy, there's not a lot of Japanese music to pick from. Holy mackerel. All right, we'll listen to this one more time. I like this one. Well, that camera is doing an excellent job of focusing in on that. I hadn't planned. I thought I was just kind of putting the camera down and going to get the music turned on, but it did a really good job of focusing that close. It's only about 3.5 inches away from the leather, maybe 4 inches. So you can see, even as I was pulling that leather to try to make those turns, and I was sewing a little bit faster as we got into the middle, this JUKI did a fabulous job of maintaining stitch quality. I'm going to come out a little bit, but you know what? Actually, I'll rotate the camera a little bit and I'll show you that one skip stitch that we got right here. And apart from that one anomaly, through the entire live stream, going through 2 layers of genuine Alkyd and everything else, this JUKI, working with a less than ideal setup, laid down absolutely page 34 stitching consistently. Well, I want to thank you for persevering through a longer live stream than I expected to be going, quite honestly. I planned on making this probably about an hour long, and we've gone much longer than that. But you know what? We covered some good territory, and we made a case. We made a case for a specific maker of a contemporary machine, I think, that did a good job. Really built that machine with the idea that people are going to make an investment in it. We're going to do it right. We're going to make it a machine that will last, a machine that will serve that customer long term. And, apart from the little glitch with the upper tension, it really is a very solidly built machine. I'm going to turn around. I just realized I was getting ready to wrap this up, and I never showed you the lock stitch through this protected full grain leather, or excuse me, through this saddle grade leather. This saddle grade leather. So let's walk around that a little bit and take a look. Come on, camera, you've done a really good job. Folks, that is a solid page 34 stitch all the way around this saddle grade leather. And again, apart from one anomaly where it missed a stitch right about there, even with this substandard needle compared to a Schmetz, it delivered incredibly well through this entire live stream. So, you know what? If you're looking to save money and you don't need your you don't need your needles to be quite as high grade as a Schmetz needle, this may be a brand that you could fall back to. This may be a brand that you could fall back to, because all in all, it did a very, very good job of delivering consistent stitch quality through all of these sewings that we did. So there you go. So the JUKI TL 2020 PE. I never looked at the live chat to see if anyone ever came up with what PE means. Oh, I know what it means now. I know what it means now. That was such a duh. PE. PE. Platinum Edition. Why didn't it just go with TL 2020 Platinum Edition? They had like PE twice. Ugh. Sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees. Nope, you can't. So PE stands for Platinum Edition. I hope it does. I hope it does. Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah. All right, y'all have a great rest of your weekend. Have a great Saturday. Remember that over the weekend, the judges are reading, and that includes myself. We are reading and rereading the 7 entries that were submitted for the 12,000 subscriber contest giveaway, where someone can either win one of the 170th edition Singer machines, or they can elect to pass on those and pick the mystery machine, which is a Swiss knee controlled sewing machine, but it's a genuine vintage. It's not a 2-year-old machine like this JUKI here. So watch for that next week. By Wednesday, or maybe a little bit earlier, I'll be doing a special live stream announcing the winner, the second runner-up, the third runner-up, and then also doing a post on Facebook as well which will include the actual writings that those authors submitted. That way, if you didn't have a chance to watch the live stream before where I read through them, or at least I tried to read through them, you'll have a chance to read those yourself, is what I meant to say, because I'll actually post those essays on Facebook. But I'm not going to do it until the judges have rendered their vote, because I don't want the judges to be swayed by popular vote. You know what? If all of a sudden someone reads one of those and there's like a bunch of people that go, "Oh yeah, that's the best one! Yay! Wow! Awesome!" They're not going to influence the judges to cast their vote in the direction of the popular vote. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a presidential election with the popular vote versus the electoral college. Our judges and myself are the electoral college. We don't want the popular vote to influence us. We don't want it. So, yeah. But if you've been thinking about, if you've ever thought about, if you've ever been tempted by, I'm going to rotate this around a little bit. If you've ever been tempted by the idea of, is there any quality contemporary machine where I could step into potentially quilting? I could step into quilting, or I could have, a long arm space where I could at least give a contemporary machine, a try. I think JUKI would be one that, if you went that direction, I think that's a direction I could respect as a backup machine to your vintage, not as a primary. So, yeah, give that some thought. I'm going to move the sew off kind of to the side so you can see this machine again as we wrap this up. But you know what? All in all, I've been very impressed with this Chinese-made JUKI Platinum Edition. And now that I finally, after the entire live stream, maybe I need to be drinking more fluids. Maybe I'm dehydrated. I finally figured out that PE stood for Platinum Edition. Talk about a wow. Wow, Scott, great job there, buddy. Yay. Oh boy. Oh well. Hey, you know what? In defense of myself, and I don't consider myself a genius by any measurement at all. I'm a pretty smart guy, but not a genius like Albert Einstein. But Albert Einstein, after he was working on stuff in his lab and other stuff like that all day long, he would be so deep in thought that he would get lost coming back home. And he was only like a quarter of a mile from his house. So yeah, maybe that's my defense, is I was so into what we were doing and hoping that I wouldn't break Heather's machine with that sew off we did with this Alkyd. I was so into it that I just couldn't recognize how obvious PE was Platinum Edition. Yeah, that's the best I can do. All right. Well, y'all have a great rest of your weekend. Thank you to our friends that joined us from Canada and also from Hawaii. And isn't that the great thing about our shared love of sewing machines? Whether it's discovering a rare jewel like this that is in a contemporary class, but it really does try to run alongside of our vintage machines, doesn't it? Even though it can't boast of a lot of metal anywhere, but there's metal on the inside. I can promise you that. You can look at the Facebook post and see that. Even though it can't boast of a lot of metal, it still was built to quality, and it's still able to deliver page 34 stitching, whether we're talking 2 layers of Alkyd, single layer of Alkyd, all kinds of stitch range length on 100% cotton, and protected full grain leather to boot. So that's pretty doggone good for a contemporary machine. And yeah, so way to go, JUKI. Assuming that the board of directors from JUKI over there in China somewhere watches our channel all the time. Yeah, they do. And it's not just because of a cute cow. It's not just because of a cute cow. They are probably saying, thank God for Scott. Thank God for that Cow Country channel, because he's just given us a major endorsement on our contemporary JUKI machines. Now, I'm going to hold you guys accountable, though. Inevitably, we're going to get more JUKIs in the workshop. And if you guys drop the ball and you cut corners on quality, like a lot of the other manufacturers with their contemporary machines, I'm going to put your feet to the fire, JUKI. So you better stay true. You better stay true. Yeah, you better. All right, you guys, take care. Enjoy some more chat. I'm going to end the live stream shortly. And thanks again for everybody jumping in on a busy Saturday. A lot of you have been here from the very beginning, which is 2 hours and 20 minutes ago. 2 hours and 20 minutes ago. If you guys don't think we have fun on this channel, I think it was Doreen and Kevin from Iowa that said, we can't sit still for an hour. And yet we'll sit still for 2 or 3 hours for one of your live streams or premieres. So you know what? Because of all of you making it interesting, interacting with other people, and just jumping into the fun of things, and also probably praying a little bit as I'm working with this $2,000 JUKI machine, that when we do stuff like this, we don't break Heather's machine. Yeah. So, all right, take care, everybody. Thank you again for all of our friends that joined us from all over the place. And again, that's the cool thing, is when you decide to jump into a live stream, you might be interacting with somebody from Brazil or Finland or Germany or Australia. We just never know. And that's part of the fun, isn't it? All right, see ya. I got to read these classifieds though and see what they're selling, because that is a hoot. That is a total hoot. All right, let's see. More Japanese music. That's Japanese music? Maybe it's Japanese contemporary music, just like our contemporary JUKI. Okay, why not? I'll roll with it. Contemporary Japanese music for a contemporary Japanese rooted machine that was made in China. Okay, yeah, cool. Oh, and I apologize. Welcome to Christina. Welcome to Christina from Brazil. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And thank you, Emma, for translating for us. I didn't even notice that. Kind of like I didn't notice that PE stands for Platinum Edition. Ah! All right. After all of that blah, 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 I need a little bit of energy and a little heat. So if you're weird like me and you eat candy canes year round, let me know so I don't feel like I'm alone, okay? These are really good too. So Creative Grammy just said, read the chat. Oh, you guys are already reading the chat. I'm reading the chat last. Creative Grammy was probably curious about her later edition of her JUKI, and hers is made in Vietnam. And they make a lot of machines in Vietnam, don't they? All right, I'm gonna end the live stream now with my candy cane in my mouth. God bless you guys, and again, watch for some updates next week on the wrap up of our content. I've got a candy cane. I've got a candy cane in my mouth right now. I can't talk. See? So watch for a wrap up of our contest giveaway, where someone's going to win an amazing machine, whether they go with the 170th edition ones or whether they go with the mystery Swiss machine. I'll never do this again because right now I'm trying to talk and I'm expecting to salivate or spit any second now. It could happen. So I'm going to ruin my brand new camera. What the heck? What's going on? So yeah, watch for that next week. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. And I'm going to call the winner and have them read their story. I'm going to call them and they're going to read their story. Yeah. All right. Take care, everybody. One more Japanese song. Come on, just give me one more. One more Japanese song. Ooh. fun one. All right. Since I'm milking this live stream out, I'll read you a couple of these classifieds. They're fun. All right. American Girl books. If anybody collects American Girl books, I'll give you the number. 920-757-1839. $2.50 per American Girl book. Wasaki picture postcards. Over 100 years old. $7 each. 920-662-0370. I have no idea what a dam pit humidifier is, but you can get one for $10. 920-757-1839. What else do we have? 5-pound pair of hand weights, dumbbells, Shiactin, $10. 920-757-1839. Ooh. Antique vintage plastic squeak dog toy. Possible Edward Mobley's in Shiactin. $17 for a plastic squeak dog toy. 920-757-1839. Wow. Okay, and then we've got a bee house with copper roof. $38 originally. Now they're only wanting $10 for it. 920-757-1839. What else do we have? Oh, drapes. Yeah, we won't read that one. Full dive suit for installing piers, etc. $25. 920-893-5686. So if you're trying to put your pier in right now and you don't have a dive suit, you got to call these people. You got to call them right now. All right, take care, everybody. See ya. And remember, the live stream stays active for a little bit after I end the live stream if you're wanting to chat with somebody. See ya. Bye.